Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Passion Project, a weekly podcast brought to you by the WHS Tech Crew. I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and I'm joined by Guru.
Hello.
This is a weekly podcast where we bring in a guest to talk about something they're very passionate about. It can be literally anything. Pleather, cow licking, turtle and tortoise head collecting, or oil paintings of Ryan Gosling. This week, our guest is Jared.
Hello.
Jared's also the class of 2017 president. And, just want to point that out. So, Jared,
Yes.
What have you come here to talk to us about?
Well, I've come here to talk about storytelling and writing.
Nice. And actually, let's just start, because I know something like writing and storytelling that you a lot of people pick that up sort of at a young age. And then,
Yes.
So when did you first get into that?
Well, I remember when I was little, I would always have a story in my head about something. Like if I saw a painting or I don't even know, just some guy walking down the street, I would always come up with these outrageous stories behind him. And I didn't usually write them down. I'd mostly tell them. For some reason, well, because my handwriting, people who've seen my handwriting know it's nothing to be proud of. But I would just tell it. And usually I would lose it. But as I got older, I would start to write them down. And it started not to come from, obvious places. Like I'd say, I don't know, I'd look at a tree or something. And I'd say, oh, what if this thing happened to that? It wouldn't be like as simple as a painting. It could just be anything. And I'd have an idea for a story or anything really. And yeah, it would just come, what's the word? Like flowing. Like I've had quite a few experiences, mostly in like school projects, where I would start, like the project would be, something, okay, like a one-page examination of something, and optional could be like a story, and I would start writing it, and you just get into like, I'm sure obviously know how it is, Guru, but you get into like a funnel, and like you just get into like the zone of writing something, and you don't even like, time just flies, and before you know it, you've written something like, hey, this is pretty good.
Exactly. Or it's like you're writing something, and then you look at the clock, and it's like, oh, it's midnight. But
Yeah.
I want to keep writing.
Yes, exactly.
I want to keep this going. And so, like, are there any other growing up aside from just like sort of these random moments? I know what you're talking about. I love those moments of just like, it's just like I just love how some of the best ideas they just come from spontaneous moments in life, and I think that's so interesting. Were there any like actual figures, like whether it be authors or maybe like movies or something of that sort that inspired like writers in movies or directors that inspired you to keep writing or keep pushing the storytelling?
Well, I sort of have an affinity for Stephen King, who's he really how I write is a lot modeled after him, because he was the first author that I really got into, and I've read every single book he's written, and like multiple times. And
wow.
He has this whole book. He has a book called On Writing, and it teaches people how to the mechanics of a story, how to tell it, how to, survive in the writing world. And really, I keep that next to I keep that in my library, like right next to my desk, and I always refer to it, even like when I'm doing school stuff. So yeah, he has definitely been a huge inspiration. Really, he was the one that really said, "Oh, I want to be a writer." Like to me, at least, that said, wow, this guy writes stories about, telekinetic girls and rabid dogs and cats that come back to life. Why can't I do something like that? Not exactly. I wouldn't say as disturbing as some of the things he's done, but just the character stuff. It was really I could spend hours and hours talking about him, but like just how
sorry, continue.
Sorry. But just how, character-wise, how he develops his characters. It's pretty cool.
And sorry, do you have a particularly favorite King novel?
Yes, The Stand. It's 1,500 pages, but it's about the end of the world, pretty much, and just how the survivors deal with that. It's pretty good.
Have you also read that book multiple times?
I've started reading the second time, but usually something will come along and distract me. But yeah, that was a pretty good book.
I can't even
I recommend it. I think you would like it, Guru, because it's very.
I didn't even finish The Shining for a little film. Even though I did like what I read. I just didn't get a chance to finish it. But is it something you're considering going into let's say college?
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking at schools that have good English departments. I also, to me, there are other ways to tell a story than simply write about it. I mean, I like acting too. To me, that's another way of telling a story. And yeah, so those two things definitely are very important.
Who you say that when you were younger, you used to tell your stories instead of writing them down.
Yeah.
Who usually would you tell them to, like
Well,
family or friends?
parents. I mean, they're the ones that would listen to me. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much just them. It wouldn't. I mean, it was nothing like special. It was just like, I would have very vivid dreams too when I was little.
Really?
And I used to think, yeah, like I'd have very, like I can remember still some of them. I mean, not really like well, but like I can remember them, and just like I would think of that story that would go along with that. So it would just be another interesting facet of my storytelling.
Did your parents
beginnings.
like your stories, or were they like, Jared, what are you doing?
More of the latter, I think. I mean,
Why? That sounds. If my kid like told me like these awesome in-depth stories, I'd be like, this is cool. Like, I don't know.
well, I mean, they did, but I don't think because I never even really took it seriously. I mean, until like I went to until really like freshman year, I didn't really take it. Like I was just like, oh, it's just something I can. It's just like there, you know. And it was just like breathing. It was just, I think,
That's so cool.
yeah. I mean, I really just thought it was, yeah.
I mean, I get bouts of creativity, but they're bouts. They're like, oh, I should do something, and then I do it for
Yeah.
5 minutes, and then I give up.
I just can't. I'm just like always, at least for me with like movies, I'm just like constantly thinking about it, and like I just have, at least what you're saying with like writing, that's how I feel almost about like shots of just like, oh, I can always think about like, and my friends, I mean, they sometimes get like they love it, but I'm not sure if they're annoyed by it, but they definitely like they're just so eager and like, guys, I need this shot. I'll drag you. I'll drag them out of lunch and just be like, to stand here. I mean, you pose like this or against like, you know, and that's how I think like all the time in class. It's like, oh, I have this for a shot, or I have this idea for a story, and I mean that's something similar for you of like your mind is just like it's like constantly racing of just like ideas and everything. And like, you took creative writing, right?
Yes, I did.
And then like, how would you say that class maybe sort of helped like sort of foster this or develop this passion?
Well, I mean, it taught me that it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. And I guess, you know, a lot of young writers are like, oh, you know, I can write. You know, they think young writers, a lot of, you know, they think they're very sophisticated. But when you go to like creative writing, you see, oh, there's another kid that can also write like this. Or, you know, let's say I write something, oh, I think this is really good, and it's not really good. So I think to me, it just taught me. And also creative writing, because for a long time, I mean, I still mostly do. And when I write stuff, I don't usually write comedies. I usually don't write funny stuff. But that taught me that, you know, I can expand to be flexible at least. You know what I mean? That's what creative writing taught me.
Yeah, and is there like when was the first time you actually wrote like a full
story? I would say that the first time I wrote like a full story was for it was. I mean, it was a short story. It was only a few pages, but it was for freshman. It was, yeah, I think you were in that class, freshman English. Mrs. Parker. We had to write. I forget what the exact assignment was, but it was something like see a person and like go people watch and make up a story about this person. And I remember I asked her, could I make the entire thing fictional? Like both the observer and the observee. Is that the right word, observee? Or the observed, excuse me. Both the observer and the observed fictional. And she said, yeah, sure. You know Mrs. Parker.
Yeah.
So I went home. I didn't even go home. I had study hall the next block. And I just, because I had the germ of like something like about a stalker who was stalking this guy. I'm very disturbed, Guru. You have to understand that about my stories. They're usually very disturbing.
No wonder. That's
what I mean. At this position, the only really, that was my like zenith, my Stephen King obsession freshman year. So that was like all I was reading. So obviously my stories would be like that. But yeah, I sat down and started writing like the opening lines of something just about it was like the inner monologue of just some guy, you know. It was like not like a creepy stalker, but it's just like he sort of like he like imagined this guy as like he just it's really hard to describe. But like so he would see this guy and he would come up with all this stuff about him. Like I know in lit and film we're reading The Talented Mr. Ripley, and it's sort of similar to that now that I'm thinking about it. How this, you know, the observer would make a fantasy about the observed's life, and he would become obsessed with that life, even though the observed doesn't really know the observer at all, pretty much. Do you understand?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And I wrote from the point of view of the psychotic observer, and I just wrote, and before I knew it, I had handwritten, and I usually don't handwrite. I usually don't handwrite stuff, but I had handwritten before I knew it, I had handwritten like 3 or 4 pages, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good actually, or I think it's good. So then I went home and showed it to my parents, and they said, wow, this is pretty creepy,
Well, that was my next question though. Like, what was your initial reaction to like completing your first like full story? Because I know, like, at least for me, when I first completed my first script, I thought it was amazing just because it's like a novelty thing.
Yeah.
Of just like, oh my God, I've poured so much effort and love into this thing and I finished it. Now, to be fair, that's how I was initially reacting to it. Then I went back to read it like 2 weeks, 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
It was garbage.
Yeah.
For you, I mean, like, even though your parents said you like that, at least, like, what were you personally feeling the first time you finished that big story?
I mean, it was just like, it wasn't even big. I mean, it wasn't like I planned anything. I wrote it and it came there. And to me, it was just, I was mostly in awe that I could even do that. Because I never even, I mean, I never thought I could have done that. And, again, you're right. If I look back on it now, I would probably say, who the hell is this? But yeah, I would not, I mean, to me, that was just, it was awe-inspiring. Because it was one of the first times that I'd done something that I really loved doing. And it's just, it's an unforgettable experience.
When you imagine stories in your mind, I mean, I know for me, when I think of stories, I literally think of it as if I'm writing it, like, word for word.
Yeah.
But do you think of the idea, or do you think of it as if you're writing it?
Honestly, I think about it as like a movie in my head.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. That's why sometimes it can be hard to then take it and then actually write it down, because it's like, oh, how do I describe this in a way that is, like, artsy and not stupid? You know what I mean? So that's, I've always pictured it as a movie in my head.
Do you just find it easier to just visualize scenes first and then make it verbal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't usually, that's how I do it.
Is there any particular, I mean, being a big Stephen King fan, I'm assuming, like, is, like, horror, would you say, like, your favorite genre, or, like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have I prefer some horror movies, but, like, as long as it's a good story, like, I love Titanic, I love, I don't know, Toy Story, but as long as it's a good story, I don't really care.
I just meant, like, for the stories that you want
Oh,
to
stories
write.
I write. Yeah, probably more along the lines of horror, but not, I hate horror stories are just told for horror. Like, I like to have a deeper thing behind them. I like to have likable people in them, or, But yeah, mostly it's more horror, more like fantasy, supernatural sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, moving forward, would you want to just, like, sort of stick with that genre?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think it'd be healthy to do, like, more realistic things, but as of now, I'm better at writing, like, fantastical things.
How long are your stories usually when you write them, or do they vary?
Well, my longest one was actually not even a fantasy one. It was another project, and it was for American Studies. Oh. And it was we had to do a Western project.
Yes. I have a story about this project. We were in the same class last year, so I have a story about this same project. And
I wrote this, like, I came up with the idea of, like, a fake journal written by this Western guy going out. What was it called? The oh my God, the Frontier, the Homestead Act. The Homestead Act. They were going out to claim their homestead, and it was about this guy and his friend and his wife and just what happened. And I remember, like, this is the first story that I planned to, like, the zenith. Like, I planned every single page, and I was up to, like, 5, like, both the night before and the night before the project was due. I was up to, like, 3. For making sure, not even that the story was good, but just that the binding it was in, because to me, I love the presentation of it.
And didn't you turn that project in early?
Or
did I? Oh, I didn't know. It was the research paper.
The research paper I turned in early. Yeah. But this, because I wasn't finished early.
Yeah. But do you get, like, before I tell my experiences with that project, I was wondering, because you brought up something interesting about just sort of, like, the process. Mm-hmm. Like, what is your general, like, process after you sort of, like, visualize ideas and, like, that stuff, when you're getting into the writing thing, what is your usual process, and do you have any, like, crazy thing, or, like, what others would perceive as, like, crazy and, like, stuff?
Well, now I like to plan everything. Like, I really, before I start writing something, I like to know beginning, middle, and end. I mean, maybe not as the maybe not the middle as much. I mean, there's a part of me that likes sort of just, not really freestyling it, but just going in and seeing what happens. But I like to, at least for the beginning and for the end, have a clear goal for both of them. That's my process.
And then, like, as you're going to writing, do you have, like, long hours or, like, specific set times or whatever?
Yeah, mostly, I mean, it depends. I mean, if one day I'm having, like, a really good, I really want to write about this, then I could be sitting at my computer for an hour or two. If one day, I'm not feeling it, it's like a painful to get words out.
Oh, yeah.
It may just be, I don't know, like I may have to take a break, so it varies.
And
yeah, go ahead, Guru.
I was gonna say, like, for that same American Studies project, I wrote a screenplay for it was basically like just my an original Western, but I had to I incorporated all the sort of aspects that the project required, and it was that was actually the longest thing I also wrote. It was 135 pages, and that my process for
Did she read all of it? Like, I don't think that she expect.
No.
Gerhayat's definitely
Mr.
read all of
Gerhayat,
it.
he read the whole script, and I knew that he read the whole script because, like, when he gave back, like, the grade, he gave back the grade, but also, like, a bunch of comments, and, like, I was reading through the comments, and, like, it was very clear, like, he had read the whole thing, and then, but, like, my process, like, especially with, like, school projects, or for some school projects I've written, it wasn't just this one, I've written scripts for, like, other school projects, and the problem is, like, I only have a week to do the whole thing, and so then what I have to do for them is, like, it's like my thing during those vacation blocks is, like, they always schedule on vacation. Is like you wake up at 10, I just keep writing until midnight.
Why don't you write the screenplay for a short movie or something?
I have.
Of, like,
I mean,
a
like,
full length one.
Oh, you mean for these school projects?
Yeah.
No, that's boring. But hey, you know what? For people, like, for all,
Whatever
if you go on, I've written short sketches that are online.
Nice little plug there, Guru.
Yeah, Jared, we'll get to your plugs too, Jared.
I'm kidding.
But, like, see, I can visualize small too, Derek. I was just saying.
So why don't you visualize small for the project?
No, because I don't know, because, like, for these types of projects, because also for, like, this project is, like, there was a lot that had to go into this project. There was a lot of aspects I needed to cover about, like, the history, the realities, the myths of the West. Yet there was so much that needed to be covered, and, like, in my opinion, I already had an idea for the story in my head, so I already wanted it to be really long, or, like, not long, but, like, just feature length. It ended up being really long, like, longer than I expected. So I expected it to be, like, a little over 100, but it was like 130 something. But then, at least with my process, I do the same thing like you do. Like, I like to plan the whole plot out and then move into writing. But then I was gonna. Well, let's get to Derek's question first.
Oh, well, it wasn't a question. I was just going to say, you were talking about how sometimes it's hard to get the words out. I know for me, I have, like, in a way, like, I always have multiple stories in my head. And if I want to work on one story, I can't sit down and, like, write for another because it's like, no, like, I'm not in the mood for this story. And you're like, no, I can't do it.
I was going to, actually going off that same point, just about, like, difficulty, I was wondering, how do you deal with writer's block?
Well, I stop. And to me, honestly, the biggest inspiration, I mean, now, like, whenever I read other books or watch other movies or other TV shows, I take that as inspiration. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll stop what I'm doing and go watch, I don't know, an episode of, whatever's on, and that'll help me, or just read another book, and that will help me sort of calm down and get an idea at least of where to go
just
next.
read a whole other book.
Not even a whole book, just like anything.
I'm going to pick up, let's see, 1,000 pages. Okay, let's go through the whole thing.
But yeah.
Sorry. I know you said did you handwrite your project for the thing?
For American Studies, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how many words it was?
No, I mean, it wasn't...
I only know how long things are.
It wasn't 135 pages like Guru, but it was... Because the thing is, what I did was, like, I wrote some entries of the diary, and then I also had to write, like, some exposition about the West.
Oh,
but, like, it was quite mammoth. It was quite a mammoth-sized thing. Because I bought this, like, whole book to hold it in, and it was pretty, like, thick, so...
American Studies sounds
I can
like it
verify.
sounded intense. And
Oh no,
like-
it was intense.
Great
but
class,
it was
but
a fantastic class, and it's like
You'll have a lot of sleepless nights taking this.
to be fair, I felt like, I mean, not a knock on the class, but I felt like a lot of the work came from the history side of it.
Really?
But I mean that's just my opinion. But I mean overall though, I would definitely anyone listening, I beg you, please take American
yes,
Studies.
take it. I mean, my highest recommendation.
Yes.
Will change your life.
Yes, junior year it'll be a blessing. I mean, granted.
No, I mean
the work. Sorry. In terms of experience, just because like it's an absolutely unforgettable high school experience. Plus, you learn so much, and you have such a. At least with mine and Jared's class, like we had there were only 15 kids in our class, so it was a very tight knit group.
It was like a family.
Yeah, exactly.
And even the
then-
Chicago trip.
Yeah,
was even-
exactly. We I don't know. At the end of the year, someone came up with fam studs, which I still stick with. Don't laugh, Derek.
I'm just sitting here while you tell me that I wasted my junior year taking
I think
regular
you,
history class.
I think you did. I think anyone. I'm sorry. Or no, I mean, I'm just saying. I would just not that you wasted your time with regular history class, but I'm just saying Amstuds was such a fantastic experience that I would say it beats everything. It blows everything else out of the
I
water.
second that. And third it as well.
And
Yeah,
then
just
all
make
the
up for me being unable to third it.
you can third it too, Derek.
I third that.
Third that. That's not. It's third that, not third it. Excuse me.
Jared, you're the writer here. Come
Yeah, I
on.
know.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be your forte.
Yeah, that's the one good thing about scripts is like grammar's important, but not as strict. I was
And you don't
wondering-
have to worry about coming up with something else to use instead of said. Although there's nothing wrong with using said a lot. Like, if it's back and forth, just don't use it. I don't know.
How do you deal with like sort of like just wording and vocabulary? And
It's
just,
hard because like, you know, you write a sentence and you write a sentence and you like it's hard. Okay, so how do I say that, but say in a way that's different than when I said it last sentence? Like, you know, oh, this guy is sad. He was so sad that no, I can't say that. You know, it's hard. I mean, you just have to. To me, like some writer said this. I forget who. But like any word that you have to look up in a thesaurus is not the word you should be using. So really, I feel like it should be what you really want to get across. It shouldn't be like mechanical. Oh, I can't say this word. What else can I say? You know, to me, it should flow. It shouldn't just be like a place, and it shouldn't just be this means that word, but it's not that word. So let me put it. So to me, it should flow.
Do you ever have a thing of like, because my mom was saying this, she was reading some BBC article, but she didn't like how it was written, just because like whoever the writer was just using.
Well, the
like,
British have different.
Well, no, but like it's also just like the writer was just using like these random, just really random big words that are just
Yeah.
too
Oh yeah.
complicated.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I'm
yeah,
wondering,
yeah. No. It's yeah.
Do you get annoyed by that?
Yeah. Well, it's offsetting. You know.
Yeah.
It's just It's like okay.
And
Like,
you get the feeling they're not using these big words because they actually help them articulate what they're thinking. It's just because they're like, oh, I can use this and make myself seem cultured. Or
Oh,
something.
exactly.
And you're like,
Yeah.
no, like, I don't care.
And then so like is that how you feel? Like
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it irritates me. Like, I mean, you can use it like an essay to impress a teacher, but for a story, I don't think you should go that route. Personally,
yeah, no, I have a friend who like, I remember it was actually in that same freshman year English class. I forget what essay it was, but he definitely like.
oh,
He was definitely using like one of the essays like he was just I like read the intro and he had like these just plethora of like SAT vocab words.
Oh, plethora.
plethora. That's it.
Yeah. That actually I would suggest not a lot of people use that word, but it just kind of became clear. I mean, he was definitely first of all extremely smart guy, very well written essay. It just felt like all these
like
big
forced almost.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. That's
Yeah.
what
Like,
that's
he went through and used the
Yeah,
thesaurus for
yeah.
all those words.
No, I have no idea that he probably knew them. He like I'm sure he knew them.
But just
But like
But
yeah.
you don't need, it's not like, okay, you need 25 SAT words in this essay. Like,
Oh no, yeah, I get that.
if they're convenient, use them.
Exactly. Do you have a specific? As we're talking about like wording vocabulary, how would you describe your writing style?
Well, I said, like, I like it. I mean, to me, I don't like to categorize it. I just like it to flow. I just think it should make sense. It should be user friendly. It should be, I hate whenever I read or watch something. I hate like, having to like trying to decipher the author's meaning. I mean, it's nice when the author makes you work for it, but I like. All right, so like The Great Gatsby, for example, the story itself is pretty simple, and the story is a good story. But once you go deeper into it, it's really meaningful. I don't like stories that even the basic story is just impossible to get into. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that at the service of it, it should be at the heart of every story is a good story, and then you can take it. Okay, so what does this mean about human nature? What does this mean about man's inhumanity towards man? That kind of thing. So,
Do you find it like, I don't know, like pretentious if an author did that, or?
yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, I'm so sophisticated, I'm gonna hide my meaning. I'm gonna like tell a really confusing story, and it's your job to figure it out for me, because yeah, I hate that. That's one of my pet peeves. as a reader and a TV watcher and a movie watcher, I hate that.
And then I always remember a bunch of my friends took Hero's Journey last year. Or Derek, didn't you take Hero's Journey?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, they call my
I had
friends
something
took.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, but I forgot it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was just wondering because like they showed me No Country for Old Men, written by Cormac McCarthy, and then I know like one of the stylistic choices that McCarthy did in that book was like for all the dialogue he doesn't have quotation marks.
Oh yeah, that bothers me.
Yeah, exactly.
It
So I was
bothers
like,
me so much.
so when authors do stuff like that, where it's not maybe like the story or something, but just stylistic, just the way they write it, it's just like it's weird or random. Maybe they have their own intentions. How do you like one? Have you ever tried to do that, or like how do you view it when they do it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that doesn't. I don't mind that. Like, being different writing is being a different writer is good. Telling a story that defies conventions, in my opinion, is a great story. But to me, like that just bothers me, like, because my mind doesn't work like that. It's not that I don't like the story. It's just that thing, no quotation marks around the thing, just that irritates me. But it wouldn't turn me off from reading it. It would just be like, oh, I'm reading this. Oh, that irritates me. But yeah, at the heart, I mostly don't. I'm trying to think. There's another. I mean, like, okay, like and like Dracula stories like that, where it's written like it's written from letters like that. I love that stuff where it's something because it makes it look real. It's just a different style. It's different from just the author just telling you what it is. It's actually interesting. Or I know some. Of course, Stephen King. Sometimes what he'll do is to divide up his stories. Like he'll have, let's say, he'll have a journal in it, and he'll have the type of the journal be in like cursive, so it makes it look even more realistic or just new and interesting. So I don't mind that.
I know this is a bit of a backtrack, but I know you were saying
fine.
you don't know like what style you write. Like, have you heard of the website where you paste in something you've written and it tells you like, oh, you write like Ernest Hemingway
Oh
or
no, I haven't.
Jane Austen
You know
or
what it's
something?
called?
I'm not 100% sure, but I can look it up
Oh,
and
yeah,
give
no.
it to you. But
I've not
it's
heard of
very interesting because even like I did it, but depending on what writing you give, it looks different. Like
Oh, really?
something personally written obviously is gonna like have a different style than like one thing in like two different stories. It will be like different authors, but it's very interesting.
Oh, I've never heard of that actually. That's kind of cool.
Do you remember who you got?
No, I have absolutely no clue. It was
actually-
like 3 years ago, so I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, though speaking of that, that reminds me of another creative project we had in American Studies when our English teacher, Mr. Waddell, he had us write short stories, but we had to we were reading A Farewell to Arms, and we had to emulate Ernest Hemingway's sort of the way he writes stories, and like some of the things he used, like he would like Hemingway would one be one existentialist. And then two, like just in sort of like style, like he would use "and" a lot. Like this person did this and did this and did this, yada yada yada. Huh?
No, it's a figure of speech that like actually has a name when talking about like old Latin and Greek things. But like it's when you use a lot of ands. And ascendenton is when you don't use like any and you just like put them all in there.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fun. Very cool.
Of course, we never got that. No, but that just reminded me of that project of.
Yeah,
I
remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that project.
I remember 10th grade we had to, if for anyone who had Miss Pickett, you had a choice for like a creative writing thing at the end of the year, and I chose to write in like Holden style, and I basically wrote
From
as
Catcher in
if
the Rye.
Oh wow. Oh, that's
Pickett
cool.
was Holden's teacher, and
Yeah.
she like kind of got mad at me, but
Gosh, actually no, I did that same thing. In Catcher in the Rye, it was like the scene where Holden's like original roommate, like they were like talking and like the guy was shaving, but I did it from like that guy's perspective, and then but no, I remember that project, and also
it's good. I think it's a good exercise to try and emulate somebody else's style because in a way you have to think the way they are when
Yeah.
they write, and it helps you like
I think it's, yeah, just a
Develop your
fun.
own
I think it's also just like
Or
fun.
hijacking Jared's episode.
Oh, no, this is fine. This is a community podcast.
Exactly.
And it's something that Guru himself feels very passionate about.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, I love writing. I'm not like you guys where I like plan it out.
Yeah.
I'm not like I'm having like a beginning and an end. I'm just like, wouldn't it be cool if like this was the world?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, I wish I wrote them down, and I like started writing one down, but I kind of gave up because I wrote a lot, and I'm like not even close to what I want to do. Because I don't write. Not that this is a bad thing, but like I don't write stories expecting other people to see them because I know that mine are bad. So like, I'm not thinking about those mechanics. I'm thinking about the story, and like I think it's great that you guys have the ability to think about the story and write it so that it's a good when other people read it.
Who do you show your story? Like nowadays, sorry. Who do you show your like?
Honestly, I keep them pretty much still to myself.
Okay.
Really. I mean, I don't really, because I have gotten to the point now where I'm very self-conscious about what I write, and to me, I'm like, I'm not going to show it to people until I know that at least
It's
that I
perfect.
think it's good.
Yeah,
You know what
okay.
I mean? Yeah.
Do you ever like send excerpts to like maybe like show your parents or your friends?
Yeah, sometimes I'll send it to not even my parents, but I'll send it to some close family members or even some other close friends that really get my writing that I like to write. And I'll send some excerpts to them and they'll give me, feedback, like say, oh, this is good, this isn't good, I don't get this, I don't understand that, stuff like that. But for the most part, like I keep it mostly just on my computer.
I'm wondering, does anyone in your family or maybe like a close friend like as passionate about writing as you are?
I don't think so. I have a couple artists in my family that they're not really interested. Like they're interested in like artists, like painting artists. They're interested in like snapshots, while I'm interested in the whole, story. But yeah, I have a one cousin in particular is very very creative, and she's at the I'm gonna get this name wrong, but it's a school in Savannah, Georgia. That's like one of the best for artists.
I think
And
I've heard of that.
yeah, and she's I've seen her artwork, and she's drew me some. I have a big I think I have some Pokemon character that I think she called him Jaragon, like after me, and it looked just like yeah. I mean, it looked like it was in the cartoon. I mean, she's yeah. I can't draw a circle without a model. So like yeah, I'm in awe of that.
But I think that's what's so great about art, because like you're like, oh, I can't draw a circle without a model, but maybe she's like, wow, like Jared can write and tell these stories, like I can't even like structure a sentence. Not like that's true for your cousin, but like maybe like other people see arts in different ways,
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing about art. It's like it's just so subjective compared to like anything else. Like, you can't really quantify art, I guess, or like, but yeah. Wait, were you gonna? No. Well, I was gonna say, you just can't quantify art, kids. I think that's something that's kind of interesting though. But like at least our generation, everyone's always so quick to make an opinion about something.
Oh, don't even get me started on.
Yeah, but it's just like whether it be like writing or I think especially in school, like when we're reading books and stuff, so many kids they're so
instantly hate it because they're reading it in school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's either that or even if they like even if they like writing, it's just like we're only like a few chapters in and they already make up their whole opinion of the book, just like before anything, and then yeah.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and it bothers me too when you, like, are in a class and they're like, okay, creative writing assignment. And you're like, oh, this is great. I finally get to write something. But they have, like, all these rules and restrictions on it.
yeah.
And it's like, now I can't enjoy it. Because I can't just, like, even if you wanted to put effort into it, it's like, okay, but, like, I can't write about this thing because the teacher says it has to be, this way.
See, like, this is somewhat similar, but I'm a big fan of the TV show The Walking Dead, and the 7th season, the premiere, I know a lot of people didn't like it because it was very violent, but I go online and read about it, and it gets eviscerated by like everything. Like even like episodes, they criticize it. First they criticize it because it's too gory and there's too much going on. Then they criticize there's not too much going on, and it just irritates me because you can't. I don't even read like critics reviews anymore for any like it irritates me because it's like all these people they're paid to like. To me, I've always hated is that they're telling you how they think you should be feeling about this particular episode or something, and it makes you feel like they make you feel stupid if you enjoyed it, and that's why I don't even bother reading them anymore.
That's the thing with
Yeah.
a lot of modern. Like I like reading. I don't read critics reviews as much anymore. I mainly like there are a couple on like YouTube that I follow and I actually really respect and watch, and like I find them to be a lot better because what they do so well, I find is like. Well, I feel like what a critic should do is like they should articulate their opinion. Sorry, they should articulate.
Someone's popular.
They should articulate their opinion, and explain like why they liked it, and then make the viewer understand. Maybe make the viewer understand their opinion more.
Exactly. Not like this is a bad movie.
Yeah,
but
this blanket
is
statement.
What
Yeah.
I think, and this is why I think it like. That's why I like when people do reviews and they're like, if you like this kind of book, then it's good. But like, I personally don't. But that's one of the things I hate about book reviews because like I want to read the reviews so I know that it's a good book. But it's so confusing when there's a 5-star review. The person's like, this is amazing and perfect in every way, and the story's great. And then one that's like 1 star, and they're like, the writing's stale. Like, this is a totally unoriginal plot. The characters are flat, and you're like, oh, what do I listen to?
Yeah.
You know?
At least the thing with books though, they're not like movies, and that like you have to be. I mean, like I go and try to see like every movie, but that's the general populace will be like, okay, if we're gonna go see a movie with like such high ticket prices, they will actually listen to critic reviews or like go to Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. They'll be a lot more selective. But with like a book or something, like books are a lot more accessible because at least maybe like a Kindle or something like you can.
Yeah.
If
There's not the like you can pick it up and put down a book. You can read it at your own speed.
Yeah.
It's not like this is definitely gonna take up an hour and a half of my life and I have to sit through it or whatever. Not
Yeah.
that there's anything wrong with that.
No, movies are the greatest art form ever.
That's subjective.
No, it totally is. I'm just joking. But what I mean, like, what's great about movies, guys, and why it also involves writing so much, is because movies are like they're the combination of every art form. If they take auditory, narrative, and visual elements and make just beautiful things.
Beautiful music.
Yes.
Thanks for criticizing every other kind of art form.
Yeah.
Well, we can say the same thing about TV shows now. They
Yeah,
do.
definitely. Just like that medium in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just the visual.
It's the visual, auditory, narrative.
Yeah.
Oh, and now they're having the 4D theaters where your where your seats shake and all
Yeah.
that other stuff, like the feelies in Brave New World.
Or there
I
was
don't know if either of you ever read
uh,
that.
We never. And yeah. We
No.
never read Brave
Oh.
New World and
No,
American
we did
Studies.
what was that book like?
Oh no, I just read it on my own.
Oh,
It's
okay.
I started reading
like
that.
it's good, but it's like it's like depressing-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't really explain it.
Are there any books? Actually, yeah. Are there any books like what Derek was saying of, or like authors that you've like you read them once, but then you can never go back to them again, whether you hate them a lot or they were just really disturbing, even though I guess you're into disturbing stuff.
Thank you, girl. I haven't come across anything that I've absolutely hated. There's stuff that I'm probably not going to read again. Like, I don't know, like the Scarlet Letter, or, I'm probably not going to read that again. I have no desire to go back into that world. I don't really want to reread, Huckleberry Finn to me, I honestly like rereading. I like reading new stuff. I mean, as much as I love to reread stuff, I only reread stuff if I forget stuff that happened. And to me, it's easier to rewatch a movie than it is to reread a book, because I don't know why, but it's just, to me, I've always found it easier to rewatch, a really good movie than to reread a really good book. Because when I'm rereading a really good book, like I'll be reading it and then I'll be like, wow, this reminds me of something else. And then I'm like, oh, why aren't I reading this, which I haven't read before, which could be really good too. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
That's my thing.
And is there, when you're writing, at least, are there any particular like every time you're writing, are there any like particular like problems or sort of struggles you may have with
Dialogue's pretty big, because the problem is you have to make dialogue that's like realistic, but not too realistic.
Not like including the ums and the
Yeah.
likes and the like weird
Yeah.
tangents. Yeah.
Because I mean, how we talk, most when 3 people have a conversation, even like when 5 people have a conversation, very rarely is it just one of them talking. You know what I mean? So it's just, you have to like, but again, you don't want to make it too like artificial. You have to make it. It's hard. Dialogue is the hardest thing. I mean, something that I can't. That's why most times when I write stories, I don't include dialogue. I just have it from like, I'll do a journal thing, or I'll do like, an inner monologue. That's why I find it hard.
Okay, and then are there any aspects of like writing that like you felt that you've gotten better at over the years?
Yeah, I would say I've definitely gotten better at just, the logistics of a story. Like, just, and even just planning it out. I mean, it's nice sometimes to just, write and see what happens. But sometimes, in my opinion at least, it's better if you have a plan because at least you have an idea of where things should be going and you know when to end it. If you just write freestyle, just write and see, whatever, it can be hard to end it, and sometimes it can just become a befuddled mess, in my opinion, at least.
How often do you free write?
Not as often as I should. Yeah, and probably. I mean, I've been able to do it more often senior year than I have in past years, but I would say maybe once every 2 or 3 days, I'll just sit down and write. But I wish. I always every day I always say, okay, today I'm gonna really, really write. I'm gonna write good stuff, and then it never happens.
What are your biggest pet peeves, both with reading other people's works, like in books or whatever it might be, and writing yourself?
I hate.
Powerful word.
I hate I hate when characters are very one dimensional. That irritates me, because it's just I don't know. I mean, I have a special affinity for villains and books and movies, and to me, I've always loved it when they try to make the villain like somewhat of a deformed hero. I mean, I like it. I always like it when the hero starts to question, oh, whose side am I really on, man? You know what I mean? I like villains that are complex. Not even just villains. I like just characters. I don't like heroes that are just, heroes that just do the right thing because it's the right thing. I like there to be a reason why they do the seeming, the quote-unquote right thing. I like for villains there to be a reason for them to do the horrible things and not just, because it's evil. And I like there to be fleshed out reasons behind it.
I agree with that. Like, when you're younger, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me when I was younger, like, if I were to read something like that, like, maybe I wouldn't notice, but as I've gotten older, like, I see more and more. Sometimes you read a book and you're like that's all of the villains, so to speak, like, they're just a bad guy, and you're like, okay, what else? Mm-hmm. Like, there has to be something more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, like, Roger Ebert once said, like, every story is as good as its villain, because, basically, it's like the triumph of the hero is greater if the villain is, like, as good. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, so I agree with you on that. Like, I also really love villains. Are there any other, like, pet peeves you have, or, like, just little small things?
Like, no quotation marks.
Yeah,
What about when you're reading, like, let's say you're in creative writing,
okay,
and like you're reading like a peer's work, like
okay,
let's say like just novelty writers,
mm-hmm,
or like people who like maybe like around the same like age as you, like experiences wise as you, like people our age, or like are there things that like people do like just sometimes that sort of
I mean, I sort of mentioned this earlier, is when they think they're being more sophisticated than they really are. Like they'll say, you can tell when they wrote the sentence, oh wow, this is pretty smart, but it doesn't come off. Or even more so than that, just when they trying to be funny and they're not in writing.
Oh yes.
Because to me it just falls flat and it just becomes unnecessary. I mean, some people say if you're not a funny person, don't try to be funny. But that's another pet peeve of mine.
It bothers me when you're like reading a book or something else very involved, and like you really get into a scene, and then all of a sudden there's a person who talks, and you're like, wait, they were here, like. They were in the room or whatever, or all of a sudden there's people who were like, oh, he was on her left, and then all of a sudden he's talking from the other side of the room, and you're like, I'm a little confused as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Because there's some people who are like, that's their style, but that doesn't excuse, like, oh, there's 3 more people who showed up and you made absolutely no mention or, like, anything of it. Because I just get really confused.
I don't like... A lot of good writers, in my opinion, can't write good climaxes and good endings, and a lot of times it'll just descend into chaos. And to me, it really shows, because it reads like a bad B movie, and it's just
the B movie is not a bad movie.
Well,
that
is a great movie, but
it is a great movie though.
But no, it's just like when stories build up to a climax, and a lot of writers butcher the climax. Because they think, they got to throw explosions and all this stuff into it, and it just becomes meaningless. And doesn't, like, the climax should mean something. And pointless explosions doesn't, not even explosions, it's just, like, just clutter happening. Just doesn't mean
Or like
anything.
an unnecessary twist.
Exactly. Like, I mean, if a twist happens, it should be meaningful and it should, like, you not that you can see it coming, but if you go back and watch it, it should make sense to you. It shouldn't just come out of, thin air and just be like, wow, this guy was really this guy,
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you have you worked with twists before in your stories, or?
There's a couple things that I'm planning now have some twists in them along the way. And the hard part is, writing it so the twist doesn't become obvious. But at the same time, writing it so that when you find out the twist, it's like, oh, then it's like you can go back and say, well, okay, now what he did makes sense, So twists are dicey, but they're rewarding.
One thing I don't like, I haven't done creative writing, but like I've read other people's works before, like people our age, and I'm not saying I could write any better than them, but do you ever just read someone's story and you're like, this is wrong? Like, you can't point out like, okay, there's this one grammar thing you keep doing, or like there's something wrong with the story that's just weird, and like I'm not saying I can fix it for you, but like it feels weird, but you don't know how to tell them.
Yes,
that.
I've had that. Like I've had some people. Couple of my friends took creative writing last year, and sometimes they would show me stories, and like I would read them, and like they were good. I mean, they weren't bad, but there was just something missing. I don't know what it is. It was just something like, you can't pinpoint it, but there's just something missing about it. There's something off about it.
You can't help.
Yeah.
You can't be like, this is just wrong.
Yeah.
Like, sorry. Like,
I wish it could just be like, just rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what would fix it, but you don't want to tell them that.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything? Do you ever try to experiment stuff with your stories, like change things, like maybe change genres or change like, I don't know, like the style. Like I once.
Yeah, I mean, this thing that I'm working on now, I went through many different iterations before I finally settled on this is how it's gonna be. Right? Like I remember, I would start out. For this one, I started out telling it this one way, and I would think through it, and it just did not make any sense to me. It really sounded horrible. As the more I thought about it, because when I first thought about it, I thought, oh, it was brilliant that I do it this way. But the more I thought about it, the more it just didn't sound right to me. So then I asked how I was going to tell that particular one, and decided to tell it a different way. And I think it's a better way, for me at least, it's not easier, but it's just it makes more sense for the story to be told this way than the way I was going to tell it previously. Does that make sense?
That made sense, but in like the vaguest terms.
No, I understand. What you're saying,
so basically, like I was going to tell it one way, it didn't work out for me.
I get it. Yeah, I'm joking, Jared.
I know.
I'm joking.
I get that a lot on a small scale, where I'll like write a paragraph or a few paragraphs and be like, I want to do something different, but like this is like okay. So I have like documents of just like saved like alternate endings, but they're not endings. It's just like it could have gone this way.
Actually, how do you feel about as opposed to like creative writing? What about like essay writing? And I'm just wondering.
I really don't like essay writing. I mean, it depends. Like if I'm writing about a book that I really like last year, for Brit Lit we read Grendel, and I actually really liked that book, so I enjoyed writing that essay. But if it was on, I don't know, Mrs. Dalloway, which is not a book that I was a big fan of, it's harder for me to write that. Yeah.
For me, it's hard to write essays where you have to like take a stance when you don't have an opinion on something. Because like if I'm writing an essay about like I think that like this stands for this and I actually believe it, like it's easy for me to be like, because of this, right? Like how can you not see this? But when it's like, oh, it has to be about time or something, and you're like, I don't care. Like
what I get annoyed by is sometimes. Actually, wait. First of all, I think we just need to point out that in junior year, Jared decided to take American Studies and
I was noticing that. I was like, whoa.
But that just shows his dedication to the craft. So. What?
Well, no, I honestly, I took it honestly. I liked reading the books in the class.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
right. I mean, it wasn't like I have like I like punishing myself. I mean, I really enjoyed, reading the books. I mean, yeah, and I mean, I really liked. We read Macbeth and Brit Lit. I really liked Macbeth. Read Frankenstein, and then American Studies we read Slaughterhouse-Five, By Wild Arms, so I got a nice eclectic mix of literature that really, helped me, I feel.
2 questions for you.
Okay.
Let's see if I can remember them before I start asking them. I had them. They were right there. Oh, Oh, yes.
Yes.
So, do you find time to read novels that you like personally outside of school?
Yeah.
And if you do, are you like the one at a time kind of person, or do you kind of have like multiple going?
I like to say that I'm a one at a time person, but most of the time I'll be in the middle of like 3 different books. Like, cause I'll put this one down, and then I'll be like, oh, I want to read this. But I like to be one at a time. I like to only have one book on my back burner.
Yeah.
But most of the time it doesn't happen.
I'm the same with the wanting to think
Yeah.
on one at a time, but it's so much in my opinion, it's so much easier in the summer. But
Oh, yeah,
during
yeah.
the school year, sometimes I find like I'm reading a book and I really like it, but either it will be like really dense. So if I come home
Yeah.
from school and I just want to relax a little bit, like I don't want to open up this giant tome and like
Yeah.
find out where I am in the plot. Like I just want something light. And
I
like
feel-
then I have 4 books I'm reading.
I just feel really bad because like I used to read for pleasure like a lot, especially like basically leading up to like freshman year of high school, and then afterwards I mean since then I just haven't been able to do it. And then like every summer, at the start of every summer, I'm always like, okay, Mom, we're gonna go to the library, we're gonna take out like 10 books, I'm gonna read everything, or I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna get all the summer reading done right now, and just it never happens.
Yeah. I usually in the summer I have a list. I have like a list of books that I want to read before the summer is over, and I get through absolutely none of them. I usually find another book to read, and then I spend my whole summer doing that. Yeah.
No, I remember on Town Day they have free books because like they're like advanced copies that
yeah.
you technically can't sell. And I was like, this is great. And I took like 8 like pretty thick ones and put them in my room. And then I proceeded to get books from the library and buy books over the summer. And I haven't read any of those books. But it's always like I love pleasure reading, and I love like the kind of reading we do in school too. But sometimes you don't want to like think deeply about symbolism or like make
Yeah.
sticky notes about like this theme came up again. Like you just want to.
It's also like a time crunch because it's like you have to do so much work, but then it's like I have to read like 5 chapters for this one class, or like an acts of a play. You know what I mean?
Tempest.
Yes.
And like the pacing is weird sometimes because
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, oh, I could read half of this right now, and then other days all you have to do is read like 3 scenes, but you're like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when you read books, you have to do it on your own time. I would rather get like 2 weeks, read the book at some point in these 2 weeks.
Well, that's why I read like what you're saying. I sort of read mindless thrillers now. Like, because you're right. I can't. It's hard for me to like tackle a really heavy book when we're doing heavy books in school.
Yeah.
Because you get like your mind gets all jumbled and you can't really enjoy it. I feel.
I'm really hoping to get back into pleasure reading at least. Hopefully in college, if not just.
Well, you also don't have summer most of the. Yeah, you like don't have summer work.
Yeah.
With college.
Yeah.
And for me, it really is just the coming home from school and you're like tired. And sometimes I feel bad because I've sat down for like basically 7 hours and I'm like, I don't want to sit down for another 2 and read. Like I should probably move around or do something.
Yeah.
Or just sleep.
Sleeping is also good.
Sleep is
Hey,
one
you
of the
burn
few
more
things.
calories sleeping than watching TV.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you have cool dreams. Like Jared said. Do you eat weird food before you go to bed, or do you just always have very vivid dreams? I don't know. This is Guru. You were here for that, right?
I don't have vivid dreams like on a nightly basis. Every once in a while, I have a really vivid dream, and it will like, stick with me.
Are you sure it isn't a past memory from a past life?
No,
Do you ever have like deja vu?
all the time.
I get
Actually, all the
really
time I
bad
have
deja
deja
vu.
vu.
Like, not just the kind of like, oh, this kind of feels like I've seen it before, but like, when you've definitely actually seen something before and you see it, that's the kind of deja vu I get, and I'm getting it more often, and like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared that someone's gonna show up and be like,
I think high school's
have a
getting to
mission.
us. I think we're gonna start cracking.
I
I started
always-
cracking sophomore year.
I always find it weird when people have like normal dreams, if that makes sense. Like dreams that, like, I mean, dreams kind of always don't make sense, but when they have a dream where it's like, I went to the supermarket, but I was in my underwear, and I'm like, my dreams are so weird.
Yeah,
I find it weird when people have like they actually have like weird like fantastical dreams, or like I was flying on a dragon or something. And then like for me, I was like having like this weird. I was having something really weird and kind of disturbing, or like I was being attacked by some bugs, or like something just wrong.
Yeah.
But like, you ever do the thing where like, oh, I had a dream about something, but then I'm gonna write about it now, like. Or
I've said that, but I've never actually done it.
Okay.
You know, like I've said, wow, that would be a really good story or a good thing to explore, and then I usually just don't. And then by like that time, I like forget about it. So.
I always write down my dreams, and I wish I could do that with my dreams, but like the content of my dreams will be something like I was in my living room and Mr. Miles and this other kid from my class who I never talked to were there, and we were sitting in chairs and racing across the floor, and I can't be like
I could still picture Mr. Miles doing that.
great short story. Like mine are just weird, but like I like dreaming. It's fun.
I would read that, Derek.
I would
Maybe
read
I'll
that
write
too.
it. Maybe I'll write
That would
it.
be- yeah.
And I'll put it in the red and black.
Yeah, why don't you? Or put it in the
Or slip it under Mr. Miles' door.
People have always asked me why I never put stories in the red and black. I don't know. I honestly, I didn't even know they
even
accepted
have like a
stories.
creative
Yeah.
writing
No, it's
column?
no. They should actually.
You should come to Creative Writing Club though.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Doesn't
You
Miss
should,
Blomberg run that?
Yes,
you
she
should
does.
do either creative writing club or like submit something for the literary magazine.
You don't even have to go to the club. You can like just email something to Lit Mag, and
should.
they always want stuff. You can use a pseudonym. Just email it to them.
I should do that. I honestly I didn't even know about the Creative Writing Club until like this year. To be honest.
I mean, yeah.
So
Not always the
good
best
plug
with
for that then.
advertising.
Everyone should
Yeah.
go to creative writing club. Even though I haven't been there either, but I'm sure it's fun.
Oh, I go, but like, I never actually write anything, and they write prompts and they're good about it, but like I can't. I don't know. I'm too hyped up. There's like 20 other people in the room. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. Not like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and write this. But it's good for inspiration and to share stories.
Yeah. Would you ever consider maybe let's say like down the line releasing some of the stuff you?
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the goal. So to eventually write something good enough to be released.
I'm sure most of what you write is very good because from what you say, you're not someone who's like, I'm such a good writer, and then they're like, me and Betty went to the mall, but Paul was there. Like, I don't know. You sound like you're.
I
actually a
I
good
have
writer.
read stories from kids like my age that have been about as simple as that.
Oh, okay. Or it's like, oh my God, some of the stories I read in my creative writing class were not. It was just like, oh, I had a really mean teacher, and they were like just insane for this reason. I'm like, what am I reading?
Oh no, I've heard stories about people who've written literally just about arguments they've had with their significant others.
I know.
In creative writing classes, and
The reason I'm cracking up is because I know the person he's talking about, but
Jared, we can fill you in after the
Fill me
episode.
after. Fill me in
Later.
after. Fill me in after. Yeah.
But like I remember,
sorry guys.
I didn't take creative writing last year, but I had a friend who sent me a rough draft, and we kind of circulated it around our friend group because it was just bad. Not like the story was, it was just bad, but like she knew it too because she wrote it like when she was really tired, but like she was like she needed it for the class, and it was just it was pretty entertaining. But that was totally off topic. I don't know why I said that.
No, but it's nice. We just have random references
Yeah.
spread throughout the show. Sorry, we should not be laughing at this person. Even though it's. Never mind. I'm just gonna stop talking about that. Back to Jared. Jared, I'm running out of. I don't.
Do you is it not that like you'll make this your career, but do you want to have like a story, like either a collection of short stories or like a book you've written like published when you're older?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Because it would be a crime for the world not to see your writing.
I think the same.
Wow.
Derek.
Thank you, Derek. That's a great vote of confidence. Yes.
Well,
It's the highest vote of confidence I've had from anybody. I think.
Well, like I think it's such a shame when there's people who can actually write good stories, and meanwhile we have books that somehow can be published with blatant like. Either they're just like honestly the same recycled plot, or like they just have like all these grammatical errors in them.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Did an editor actually read through this like once? But
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I know. I'm sure you get it good when you watch movies or something. You wonder who the hell approved this.
And
like,
then it's not even that. It's like who approved this, and then who proceeded to watch the movie be made, and
and said nothing.
throughout the entire
Yeah.
production, never once said, "Wait,
What is
like,
this?
What are we doing? Yeah. Let's stop for a moment. That's how I feel about all the Transformers films.
and the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah. Not even like the Star Wars prequels. Like at least the thing about the prequels, like the base story is fine, but no one just told George Lucas no. With the Transformers movies, it's just like I don't know who actually took the time to like write something, or like just
Like so bad as
as that, and then like they just give Michael Bay the money, but you know.
It just astonishes me with movies and books, especially because the process of producing a movie and publishing a book is so involved that it's like, okay, so someone who actually wrote like J.K. Rowling, like when she first wrote Harry Potter, got rejected a lot of places. Somehow that wasn't like, I'm not saying like, oh, it's so easy, but somehow that took effort to get published, and meanwhile we have some of the books in the market, and it's like, how did this get to print?
Yeah.
But
Didn't you say also we've talked in the past, like J.K. Rowling was also a big inspiration for you, or like you...
Oh, I loved Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire was the first book I read by myself. The first 3 books, I remember, I think I was like 5 or something. But my mother and I would read them together. And then the 4th book, she was reading too slow for me, so I just read the whole thing. And the Harry Potter series was the first book series that I read all by myself. So, special place in my heart.
did you also like I don't know what the actual name for it is. I'm just gonna call it the Percy Jackson.
No, I like those
things.
too. I mean, I think
I hear
now
that
he's sort of sold out, but my opinion.
Yeah, I hear.
Oh, no,
that
I agree too.
Yeah.
Even though, like,
First, wasn't it that the first one was good, but then the other 2 were like doing the thing where he just tries to like
The first
milk it as long
series,
as he
like the
can.
first 5 books.
Yeah,
that was good.
yeah,
I read these Egyptian books too.
the Egyptian books were, in my opinion, I thought they were awful, but
I didn't mind them. They weren't nearly as good as Percy Jackson. And then I stopped reading them because they just got too stupid.
Yeah.
He needed to stop.
And the thing is, like, for me, I felt worse about them because I really, for you it was Harry Potter that got you into reading, but for me it was Percy Jackson, and I was really like a big thing. The Percy Jackson thing was like really big for me, and then the Egyptian
Ruined
series
it for you?
that series ruined it for me. The thing is, like, I was reading that series and like his Greek Roman stuff at the same time.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
the
Greek
Heroes
Roman,
of Olympus.
yeah, the Heroes of Olympus, like, they started out kind of okay, but then like I was reading the Egyptian stuff, which was just awful. So then, and that was horrible, and then the other series was getting worse. So I just stopped after a while. But like,
Well, like, it's such a shame because you can have something so good, but then the fact that someone tries to follow it up, like, there's definitely cases of successful sequels, like the Toy Story movies, or like,
Aliens.
Aliens,
yeah, but like
Batman, whatever.
Empire.
when
Yeah.
you have, like, you read a story and you're like, this is so good, and then they come up with another thing, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be great too, and then it's just not, and you're like, oh, this like tainted the
If
first
you were,
good story.
If you were a writer, and I guess this is gonna be our last question. If you were a writer, would you want to be like a writer of like, okay, every book is like is its own thing? Would you want to serialize something?
I've liked serializing. I like it even if it's not like a direct continuation. I like when things are in the shared world. 'Cause I mean, back to Stephen King, all of his books are in the same universe. So I just like that. That's something that I think I would continue if I were to become a writer.
But that's good because it continues like you said, the same world, but it doesn't get stale.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like same characters again. Oh wait, we need to generate drama. Oh, let's put some romantic interest in there or something like that.
Definitely.
Eventually, they'll just be like, I can just imagine 10, 20 years from now that we talking about in high school. We're going to discuss the Jared Piantedosi lore.
I
Can
know.
you just imagine that?
Oh, class year assignment tonight is to listen to a podcast he did when he was a senior in high school.
Or it'll be tonight.
God,
tonight.
so
Okay,
weird.
now for the lit and film class, it's going to be watch an early movie made by acclaimed
Yeah.
director Guru.
No.
Or read Guru's like first screenplay that he wrote in middle school.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
read that.
no, and they'll see
Don't
how much
read
you've
that.
grown. They've seen how much you've grown.
Oh, gosh.
Wait,
People
sorry.
should read that. Sorry. People should read, like, your first story, my first story. Just be like, this is how we started. This should raise your
Yeah.
expectations.
I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know if you still have that like assignment you wrote for English or whatever, but do you keep your old stories and like go back and look at them and
I
stuff?
keep them. I have them all on my computer.
Do you like reading them or like
It's
when
painful
you read?
sometimes to read.
Yeah.
Painful sometimes, but do you ever read them and you're like, yeah, this was good?
Yeah. Like I say, the only thing that I reread that I've actually been confident is good is the Western thing for American Studies. That's the one thing that I can say that like I think that is good. And upon rereading it multiple times, I still think it's good.
Do you like save different drafts as like separate files and stuff, or?
No, I usually I keep one thing and I edit it.
Would you ever rewrite something? Like if it was a story that you kind of like the basics of, but you wanted to change or
Yeah,
whether you...
yeah. If I wrote something that I didn't like, but like if I wrote something that I didn't like, that the concept intrigued me, I would rewrite it and try to flesh it out and give it. If I felt like
A different
this,
execution.
Yeah, if I feel like this deserves more, I would write it.
I've thought about doing that, but I've just never been able to.
I
Because
mean,
I just
you're
kind of
also
like
writing movies, which is like
no,
a
but like
feat in and of itself.
well, true, but like even with a script, like even if I like the concept, I have thought about like going back, maybe like I'll rewrite this story or something like that. But I just never made because it's like a one and done, and I could maybe like I'll make revisions to that draft and maybe like just work with it as it is. But I would never like restart it. At least that's how I feel about it.
I wrote my first screenplay last week for a Lit Film Guru, and I really liked it actually. It's actually screenplays are I mean, I like writing screenplays is not. It's different because you don't have to like. It's hard to describe, but it's a lot different than writing a story.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
The thing about writing screenplays, for people who want to do it, is like all the words in a screenplay have to be directly translated to the screen. So you can't have like inner monologues unless it's actual dialogue or something like that. It has to be like it's weird because like screenplays they're like it's words, but it has to be visual in a way. If you get what I mean. But that's just a fun little note. Would you have any advice to tell? This can be our last thing. Do you have any advice to tell people?
Aspiring writers.
Yeah.
Right.
Storytellers.
Just write. You know, all the writers that I love, the only thing they say for advice is to keep writing. I mean, you know, you're not a writer if you don't write. So even if it's not good, even if you don't think it's good, still write. So yeah, just keep writing, people.
Just keep writing.
Just keep.
I'm just saying. Do you have anything you'd like to tell the audience?
It has been a blast being on this podcast, and I highly recommend anybody who wants to talk about.
You didn't tell us you were a poet.
Anybody who wants to talk about anything, please come on the show. It's been a great experience. Please contact Guru or Derek and
tell the colleges we're applying to that they should let us in.
And I guarantee you'll have a blast being on the show.
Well, thank you so much, Jared. Thanks for talking to us about this very great topic.
No problem. Anytime, Guru.
Yeah, I thought it was a very fun discussion. Yeah, Derek, do you have anything else or?
No, I thought it was great too.
Yeah.
It was a blast to have you
Yeah.
on this.
Do you have anything to plug, Jared?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Nothing for the classes.
Oh, well, we have our masquerade dance in the cafeteria on January 6th, the Friday after we get back from break.
That's the Epiphany. Sorry, I just realized.
Oh, yeah, the Epiphany, La
Yeah.
Befana. I'm Italian. I celebrate that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so come to that if you're a senior or a junior. Get a senior to take you. Yeah, end of senior year is almost here. Just hang on. We're planning the end of the year
Almost here,
activities
Jared.
as we speak. So
6 months.
it's almost here. It's almost
That's
here.
too long.
It's almost
That's
here.
too long.
It's almost here, guys.
That's great. That's great to hear. Well, guys, this has been another episode of The Passion Project. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can find all our other episodes there, a lot of other great discussions. And yeah, we'll see you all next week. Thank you.